We sold everything we owned to become full-time travelers, including our car. We thought for the 2 or 3 times that we were coming back to the US to visit our family and friends that we would just rent a car and that it would be easy. It's actually not. There are things that you may not know when you don't own a car and how that relates to insurance, what kind of insurance you have, what's covered under your credit cards, and even what rental car companies you can use. So stick with me. We found out the hard way. I'm trying to prevent that for you. So let's dive into the subject of car rentals when you don't own a car. Hi, I'm Mimi, and this is Mimi and More. Welcome to the channel. So when my husband and I decided to sell everything and leave, we had a car. And so we debated back and forth as to whether or not we should keep the car or whether or not we should sell the car and just rent when we got home. So I did a deep dive, or at least what I thought was a deep dive, into which was more cost effective for us. So here's what we found out along the way and how I hope it can help you in making these decisions if you are just thinking about long-term travel and how it relates to getting rid of everything you own, including your car. So a couple of things I want to say before jumping in. One, I have like a little script written over here so that I don't forget anything. So if you see me looking off to the side, that's what it is. 2, and this is most important, I am not an insurance professional. I am not a licensed insurance agent. I am a consumer, and I am just sharing with you some information that I learned as it relates to me, myself, rental car companies I chose, credit card companies I looked into. So I'm not giving insurance advice here. If you're looking to do this or renting a car when you don't own a car, please check with your insurance agent in whatever state you are residing in or have your home address in. Okay, going forward, let's talk about what happened once we decided to leave our life behind, sell everything, and did that include our car or not include our car? So our options were, do we keep our car? And if we did, what kind of costs were we going to incur? Well, we are, domiciled, if you will, in the state of New Jersey, which has the highest car insurance, I believe the highest car insurance rates in the country. And to add insult to injury, we lived in a place in New Jersey, in an area of New Jersey that within New Jersey had the highest rates in New Jersey. So it was a no-go. It was a no-win for us to begin with. So we did the math on if we kept the car, what costs were we going to incur? So first of all, there were storage fees because we didn't have any friends or family that had an extra space in a garage or a driveway. So we were going to have to pay to store the car, whether that be in, a garage. There was just going to be some fees involved, and they were going to run between $150 and $200 a month for us to store the car when we weren't there. In addition, just because you're not driving the car doesn't mean you don't have to have insurance on your car. So we were going to incur those costs. And then additional insurance costs for when we returned home and would start driving the car. We would be increasing coverages, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's just the overall maintenance and registration that we would have to maintain on the car. The inspections, the annual registration on the car, which isn't frightfully expensive in New Jersey, but still. And then, just the overall car maintenance. We had a 10-year-old car, and we really did think long and hard because we kind of really did want to keep it. But when I did the math, it was more beneficial for us to sell the car and then rent when we got home. And so here's what I looked into, and here's what I found out. Okay, so first thing, when you think about it, when you don't own a car, you don't have any more car insurance. So you're thinking, okay, that's the point, right? I don't want to pay for car insurance because I don't have a car anymore, and that will save me money. Well, that is very, very true. But you know how when you go to the rental car company, if you've rented a couple cars in your life with a major credit card, you always decline the coverage, you waive the coverage because you say, well, I don't need that coverage because my own car insurance will cover it. Well, now you don't have car insurance anymore. So you have no coverage. So now what do you do? So here were your options. And this is where, I looked into what the options were. So the first thing you need to understand are there are different types of coverage, and what does that really mean? Well, first of all, there's the coverage of collision, which is the coverage to the actual car, damage to the car, or comprehensive theft, any theft in the car, your possessions in the car, things like that. And then there's the second part of your insurance coverage, which is going to cover your body, right? So any kind of bodily injury that happens, I really don't want to put this out in the universe, but to yourself or to another person involved in the accident. And then any damage that you may do to their car, their property, you back up into somebody's mailbox. So those are two parts of the coverage, right? So one is the collision, and then one is the kind of the personal injury, right? They're not the same. And for me, because I tend to want to be fully covered, you need both. So what did we do? What did we decide to do? Well, we decided that we would purchase, or we would need to purchase, what's called a non-owned auto policy. Now, to be clear, not every insurance company offers this type of coverage, and or may not offer it in your state. So before you look into this, make sure you call different insurance companies or your current insurance company and make sure that this type of coverage is offered by them in the state. Otherwise, you might have to seek out a different insurer. Okay, so we bought this non-owned auto policy. We pay monthly, but it is a year-long coverage, and you can't, unlike some things I've seen online on Reddit or whatever, you can't start and stop this policy. So, because if you like suspend it, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be home for X amount of days. I'll open up the coverage, and then when I leave, I'll like suspend the policy. Well, you may be able to do that once, but after that, they're going to cancel you. So you got to commit to this non-owned policy. It's a year-long policy, so you're going to have it for 12 months, whether you're driving a car, renting a car, at any time or not. Okay, so that said, what this policy covers is your personal body, right? So it's going to cover any injury that you would sustain to yourself, your person, anybody else's property. So anybody else's body, anybody else's car, anybody else's mailbox, right? So, okay, fine. We were like, all right, great, that gives us that. And then what we will do for the car part is that we will, like we always do, use our major credit card, and we will get the coverage for the car off of our credit card. Seems like a reasonable thing, right? If you have a major credit card, and for this conversation I'm talking about, our two cards that we use are the Chase Sapphire Preferred and the Amex Green. And they both offer coverage, so that you can check that box at the rental car company, at the rental car counter, because you've got the personal coverage now on your non-owned auto policy, and you've got your credit card, which is going to cover the car. Except it only covers the rental car, right? So I actually didn't even know this. So it only covers your car. Any damage that's done to your car. So if you hit somebody else's car, if you're depending just on the insurance that you're getting from your credit card, you don't have any bodily injury coverage, and you also don't have any coverage for the other car or personal property. So now we have both, right? We've got our car covered under the credit card company's insurance, and our body under the non-owned auto policy. Are you following me along so far? Because this can get very confusing, believe you me. I hope this helps. So, okay, so we think we're set, right? Not exactly. Along comes Toro. So in our exploring where we're gonna, what auto we're gonna rent, right? I started sort of comparing prices. This was also in the decision-making process of whether or not we were gonna keep our car. And the best thing for us, and the least expensive thing for us, was to go through Turo. Now, if you don't know what Turo is, it's a peer-to-peer auto sharing, or so I call it the Airbnb for cars. So you've got a car, you don't drive it, whatever, you can rent it out, right? So in doing the math, I discovered that really Turo gave us, a car we wanted. We could pick one up very close to where we were staying when we got back home to New Jersey, and the price was sometimes half of what a major rental car company was going to charge us for the same type of car for the same length of time. So we decided we were going to rent a car through Turo, which we did. So about a couple weeks ago, I said, oh, we're coming home in a couple weeks. I want to get this car rental straightened. So I went on Turo and I rented the car, which, by the way, has a 24-hour cancellation. So we were committed to Turo to the tune of, I don't know, close to $800 for our 5-week rental. Pay attention to that. That 5 weeks, that 35 days is going to play in here. So, okay, fine. I don't know what made me decide to do this, but I decided to delve in to the coverage on my credit card, either card, the Amex or the Chase. And that's when I discovered that they don't cover peer-to-peer auto rentals, i.e. Turo. So now I'm thinking that I'm gonna just use my credit card. I'm already paying $160 a month, whatever, for my non-owned auto policy, and I would just get the rest through my credit card. But my credit card won't cover Turo. It's a good thing I looked. It's a good thing I looked. So now what? Well, Turo does offer that coverage. And so now we're going to have to buy this coverage from Turo. Okay, fine. We'll check the box and we'll add that coverage in. So now this is like a couple of $100 on top of, an already expensive car rental, regardless of where I'm going to rent it from. So we're going to get the insurance for the physical car itself through Turo. And there are different levels of coverage, and they would range for what we were renting anywhere from like $200 from the rental up to, I guess, close to $500 for the rental. And it just depended on the amount of coverage we wanted. And I tend to like to be overinsured. So it was definitely probably going to cost me probably another $400 on top of this car rental. Okay, so lesson learned. We think, okay, going forward, we're just not going to be able to rent from Turo anymore because it's just going to keep adding to our costs if we have to keep purchasing the comprehensive, the collision part through Turo. Fine. Then I decided to look a little further, and we said, okay, we'll rent from a major a major car rental company going forward. And so stay tuned for later on when I give you a little bit of a hack on how to get a little bit better price on this car rental. But we said, okay, going forward we would use a major car rental company, Budget, Avis, Hertz, whatever. So then I discovered that coverage that's offered by your credit card is only offered for either 30 or 31 days, depending on which card I was going to use. Now remember, those are the two cards I'm using. So your experience, and go check this on your, if you use Capital One or Built or I don't know, whatever, you need to go check that. But even renting from a major car rental company, which we thought was going to solve our problem, now is only going to cover us for 30 or 31 days, right? So now we've got no coverage for Turo and a time limit on a longer term auto rental. And remember, we're coming home, we want to rent for 35 days. So I did discover then that if I rent it through Amex, if I use my Amex card, Amex has a preferred premium rental that you can add on. So you have to enroll in it. And once you enroll in it, you're just enrolled. You're covered from whenever you rent a car. And basically what it does, is it extends the coverage period. So from either 30 or 31 days, which is what is offered by the standard Amex, to 42 days. So in our case, going forward, if we need to rent a car when we come home for longer than 30 or 31 days, we will opt in. Again, you only enroll one time, and then every time you rent a car using your Amex, you're already enrolled in this, and it will extend our coverage up to those 42 days. But now we're aware of this time limit. In addition, this premium coverage that you can get from Amex also increases your limit. So when you when you get insured, when you use the insurance on your Amex card, like you're like, okay, I'll waive the coverage. I'm going to just take what the credit card gives me. That limit is $50,000. On Chase, it's $60,000. So it's not the sky's the limit. So by adding this premium coverage, it also, depending on, there's two levels you could pick from. So one will up your insurance, your coverage to $75,000, and the other to $100,000. It also gives you some other little small amounts that for bodily injury, they're negligible, like $2,500 or something. But yeah, so it'll give you some increased coverage limits. And so the premiums were like $20 a month for the lower, and I think $25 a month for the higher. So note to self, if you have that opportunity and you're going to be renting cars, you may want to look into that additional Amex coverage. So yeah, I think that covers everything. Okay, here's my hack about rental car costs. I am a member of AARP, which you can join at the age of 50. There's a couple of benefits that you can get, a little upgrade on your Dunkin' Donuts coffee or a free donut or things like that. But in addition to that, it does offer a good discount on budget rental cars. So you have to go in through AARP, you have to be a member, you have to go in through their portal, and it'll give you a discount code, and it's up to 35%. And when I've run it a couple times, and I've had some other discount opportunities. I think Amex gives you 10% off of Avis or Hertz, I can't remember, but the budget 35% always comes in less. So going forward, I probably will just stick with a budget through AARP, and hopefully I'll get a decent rate off of that. And then, so let me put this in a summary. Sorry, that was an abrupt ending, but here we go. If you're a full-time traveler and you decide to give up your car and then cancel your auto insurance, which you will, you now have no auto insurance. That means when you rent a car, you have no insurance. And by just choosing the car rental coverage that the rental car company is offering, more times than not, it's just for damage to your physical car, the car that you've rented, damage or theft. Excuse me. Sorry, fake sneeze. I'm not gonna edit that out. So you may want to look into a non-owned auto policy, and that will offer you the coverage that you need for bodily injury and any injury that you do to personal, some other person's property, whether that be their person or their property. And so you've got the car rental coverage, which will cover your car when it's rented up to whatever limits, and then you get this your personal coverage through your non-owned auto policy. If you rent a car through Turo, at least for me, Amex Green and Chase Sapphire do not cover auto rentals through Turo. And that there's also, even if you rent through a major car company, there are time limits, either 30 or 31 days, depending on the car you use. And so the way that you can get additional time and additional coverage is on American Express, choosing to enroll in this premium or preferred program, and then you'll be automatically enrolled in it, so that every time you use your Amex card to rent a car, you'll get that additional coverage and get those days up to 42. Let me just add in here that how they deem the coverage is, you can't extend the coverage. You're like, okay, well, I'll just rent it for 30 days, and then on the 29th day I'll extend it. No, that's it. You can't extend the coverage. I think what you would have to do, and I'm not sure if this would work, so I don't know, is your contract would end after 30 days, and then you'd have to return your car, and then the next day start a new rental all over again. So I think that maybe that's how you could get around it, but those rates are then, you're not going to get maybe a better rate. I don't know. Right now, we've sort of figured it out. For this time around, we know what to do and what not to do. Okay, I think we've covered everything. I hope that I've helped you when you are trying to navigate this situation, when you are home or you're visiting, as to what coverages you have or don't have when you give up your car, your auto at home. So if you have any other personal experience with this that you want to share with me or others, please leave it in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. Again, if I got any information wrong, please don't hold me liable. Again, I will make that caveat. I am not an insurance agent. I am not an insurance professional. I'm just telling you what I found out on my own as it applies to me in New Jersey, in the state that I live in. So you can go just do a little research on your own. And I thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you like the video and you want to know when I put more videos up, hit that bell that you see. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And of course, the ultimate is if you subscribed. Meanwhile, happy travels. Have a great day. Bye-bye.